the Eve gene has been debunked. It does not exist. There is a mitochondrial gene that exists that is passed from mother to child, is linked to the original woman, which originates from Africa. That's about it. There is no such thing as the Eve gene that makes a black woman more superior. They can't create a new race. And you know that damn well. I've never seen a black woman birth a Chinese baby, a Native American baby, an Aboriginal baby, and the list goes on. And yes, I mean black African woman. Let's do a little bit more research before we come on here and spread false rhetoric narrative.
I've taken genetics and anthropology classes, so I know a little bit about this. As cool as it would be for a black woman that exists today to possess the genes to create every other human that also walks the earth today, like an unlocked superpower, that's not what the Eve gene is. The Eve gene refers to the mitochondrial Eve, which is the most common female ancestor of all of the females that exist today, and all of the males, I guess. And she lived around 200,000 years ago. Because everyone always inherits their mother's mitochondria, and there's almost no recombination, so your mitochondrial DNA is going to be pretty much the same as your mother's. There is a male equivalent for this as well, which is the Y chromosome, and it's called the Y chromosomal atom, I think, where you can trace back lineage of all males because only males inherit the Y chromosome. So the Eve gene has nothing to do with any of the races that exist today in particular, but since all humans did come from Africa, the mitochondrial Eve was a black woman. Just not the black women that exist today. I'm pretty sure that there's been some evolution in the past 200,000 years that have made us better equipped for the life that we live today.
This post has been rolling around the internet for a very long time, and it says, scientifically, the black woman is the only one that possesses the mitochondrial DNA that has all the variation possible for every different kind of human being on this earth when this DNA mutates. This is called the Eve gene, and it is only found in black women. There is no such thing as mitochondrial DNA. The mitochondria is a part of the cell that does the chemical function that gives your cells power. Like, I'm not a bio person, clearly. There's no such thing as the Eve gene, a gene that only black women have. Where this myth comes from is that there is a common human ancestor that is considered mitochondrial Eve. She is called that because the mitochondria in every cell of every human being comes from her.
The Eve gene is a gene that only runs in black women. That means that they can produce babies of all different skin colours and shades. The problem with this? The Eve gene doesn't exist. The so-called Eve gene is actually just mitochondrial DNA. Mitochondrial DNA contains 37 different gene types. And further disproving the misconception that mitochondrial DNA enables black women to produce children of all shades. Mitochondrial DNA doesn't do that. The mitochondria don't affect your skin colour. Mitochondria provide energy. They don't affect skin colour in any way. Skin colour is determined by a number of factors. None of them are mitochondrial DNA.
There is no Eve gene. There's no one gene that makes people related to anybody else. There's no reason to think that that this gene is going to be responsible for creating all life on Earth, or all human life on Earth. That's just not how it works. So what is actually happening is that there is a mitochondrial Eve that they made up. They connected all of these different points from people's DNA that seems like it, kind of fits in and matches together. There's bits and pieces that don't really add in, but every single person seems like they have like this in common. And that's pretty much what makes a haplogroup. A haplogroup is a group of mitochondrial DNA segments that tend to be shared a lot with like certain lineages in common. So eventually over time you can have one haplogroup change so much that it turns into a different haplogroup. So I just made this just to illustrate a point. So let's pretend that this is Eve's haplogroup, red, yellow, aqua, blue, navy, and purple, right? Cool. And then at the same time, there was another person running around with like this dingy mess over here. And that person did not make it in life. Their offspring was not that successful. So what happened with Eve's haplogroup is that she had children and all like that. That's cool. And then, so one of those kids might have mutated. Instead of having like an aqua point, they mutated a orange point, and then migrated north, and then was very successful, had very many children and all like that. And split off into their own genetic branch, and then pretty much you can account this for making, for example, like Europeans, Indians, Asian people, everybody else that isn't that specific region of African. With that being said, there is no Adam and Eve story going on here. They actually think that Adam probably happened before Eve even was conceived. But they both were thought to be from southern Africa, southeastern Africa. All males have one Y chromosome that passes on relatively unchanged, but like mitochondrial DNA does change even just a little bit, but over time. And that's how we know male ancestral line. And just to clarify this too, there's no saying that this person in particular was Eve. It's just the person that happens to share the most in common with everybody else. So there's honestly, at any given point, we can just change who that is. Like,
I'm talking about the theory of the Eve gene and how it evolved from the legitimate scientific theory of mitochondrial Eve and turned into something pseudoscientific. So first off, everybody has mitochondria. It's the powerhouse of the cell. Everybody has mitochondrial DNA, and we get it passed down from our mothers. Because of that, scientists can track the matrilineal common ancestor of all living humans. She was from Africa, and we call her mitochondrial Eve. So all of the variation in what humans can look like, from dark skin to light skin, blonde hair to brown hair, blue eyes to brown eyes, all came from one common ancestor, a black woman. Now this is where it starts to detour from actual science. Somehow, this turned into a theory that all black women everywhere have some magical ability to give birth to a baby that has any appearance, and they call this special trait the Eve gene. And we got people saying mitochondrial DNA is only found in black women, which is just not the case. There is no one special gene that gives black women exclusively the special ability to produce any type of offspring. That's not how dominant and recessive genetic traits work. Think of it like this. There are a lot of different breeds of dogs, right? There's like St. Bernards to Chihuahuas, and they all came from a common ancestor, a wolf. I mean, like wolves in general, not necessarily one specific wolf. You know, a Chihuahua's genome is contained within the genome of a wolf, but that doesn't mean a wolf has the capacity to just straight up give birth to a Chihuahua, because the things that make a Chihuahua look like a Chihuahua a lot of the times are recessive genes that were selectively bred, or mutations. Just like how green eyes and blue eyes were mutations and red hair was a mutation. So if two black people with brown eyes have a kid with blue eyes, you know, that's not some magical Eve gene. It's probably just a good old regular recessive trait that had been dormant for a very long time that, you know, they both got from one of their ancestors a long, long time ago. Being a black woman alone does not, like, give you the superpower to birth a baby that, you know, looks Asian or Irish or whatever. That's just not how DNA works. We don't need to be pushing pseudoscience.
The Eve gene isn't a thing. It's not a thing. It's just sort of made up. If you're a black woman and you have a baby that comes out looking white, it's because you had some recessive white genes up in there in your ancestry, not because the fact that you're black means that you can have babies that look like any race. I know it sounds cool, but we have really twisted the science of what mitochondrial Eve really was and made it mean something completely different.